High emotions can be difficult to control, and with children, an emotional outburst can come at an inconvenient time.
The good news is you can teach your kids how to better control their emotions, and here to help us with that is counselor Mistel Axman from Inner Light Counseling. Thank you so much for being here today. So,
good morning.
Let's talk about maybe kind of first the genesis of these emotional outbursts. What typically causes a young person to have these emotional outbursts? I know for me as a parent with Isabel, I'm like, where did that come from?
Well, could be lack of sleep, it could be anything, really.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess it depends on the child, what age they are, but, you know, let's say a toddler. You know, that's the most common, the temper tantrums. They get a toy taken away from them, or they're frustrated because they can't get the toy to work right, or they're tired, or they're angry because they don't get to eat the food that they want. I mean, there's an array of things that could be happening. But yeah, something along those lines. And when they get older, their feelings in regards to situations change and they're different. So it's kind of important that we start teaching children at around that toddler age to start dealing with their emotions as kind of stepping stones, so that when they're older, they start learning how to identify emotions, label them, such as anger, pain, frustration, disappointment, fear. And then they start learning that they can start talking about that. So if you start that with them when they're toddlers, then that's just kind of a gradual progression that happens the older that they become.
So what do you say to them in the different stages, like toddler and through the years? I imagine.
Well, in toddlers, it's just going to be very, very basic. So you're going to try to figure out what emotion they are having, and you're going to identify it. So my son the other day was fighting with my 1.5-year-old over a toy. And he's full out, really upset, down on the floor screaming and hollering. And so I'm talking to him about, you must be really angry that she took that toy away from you. And he's like, yeah, it's my toy.
Yeah.
You know? And so we're talking about the anger. And then at that point I said, well, Parker, you know, I understand that you're angry, but it's not okay for you to have a temper tantrum. So we talked about either we find something else for you to do so that you don't have to feel so angry anymore, or you're going to have to take a time out. And you know, he wailed and wailed for a while, and I just kept counting, and by the time I'd gotten to 2, I said, now make a good choice, because either you calm down and find something else to do, you're going to go into timeout. And so then there's where the lip kind of zips and he's mad, you know, but yeah. He goes off and found some other toy, and then a minute later he was good. But you know, that took some, I had to do some timing out with him prior to that, so he understood what that was. But the part that was important is that I tried to teach him about anger. Tried to identify it for him so that he starts understanding that this is what I'm feeling and this is how I can verbally express it appropriately, instead of having the temper tantrums. And then when that child progresses, let's say now they're 5, 6, 7, 8, you want them to start learning to talk about those emotions. So that foundation should have become in place when they were toddlers. Then when they become older, they start knowing how to identify emotions. And so then they'll start coming to you and saying, you know, this scared me. I was hurt that you yelled at me. I was angry that my friend didn't want to sit with me on the bus. Whatever it was, then they start labeling those emotions, they identify them, and then they start learning that they can talk about them in safe environments, such as with their parents or a teacher or something along those lines. And then they start having the emotions, dealing with them, and that's very healthy, because we don't want we don't want to teach our children to stuff everything, bottle it up. Don't have your emotions, don't ever experience them, because they will. They'll still have them, they just will learn not to deal with them. Then you're going to see older children starting to have outbursts.
Yeah. Maybe we can pay her to come over to our house.
I was just going to say, I've got a couple
great.
comments when we come back. Stay with us much more.